I then have to kind of bring my insecurities or my challenges or humble myself in front of you. And then what's so negative to me is the feeding frenzy that happens on that. And people really enjoy that. And it has this link, when women talk about imposter syndrome, because I feel, again, it's a lip service to the idea that you have to acknowledge that you don't feel totally confident in the role that you're in to make yourself probably more likable. And also just because, I don't know, like most people are blagging it. I think probably men are either more comfortable with this or at least are not socialized to talk about it all the time. I know from men I know who, in other fields, they're winging shit all the fucking time. And I appreciate somebody might be like, yeah, that's why the world's... I can literally hear somebody being like, yeah, that's why the world's in such a terrible state, because men are winging it all the time. Listen, let me tell you a cold, hard fact. Okay? A few years ago, I started DJing, as you well know, because you've given me some incredible gigs. And so I learned very recently, actually, how to do something I found it stressful to get better at, and put myself into situations whereby I was having to move forwards. I had to take on things that were a stretch of my ability. Like, oh my God, and you have to be like, I can do this. And you prepare, and you have to bring a bucket load of confidence, and you dig deep and you do the thing, because you cannot progress until you put yourself out there, rise to the challenge and achieve. With that in mind, ergo, for a significant period of your time, you are always going to feel like you're faking it. You don't really know what you're doing. Somebody's going to find out that you're a fraud. You're not as good as you said you are. And so I think that they're actually very natural feelings for people who are in a field that, has ambition, where you have to keep moving forwards. And so I just really dislike this lie that somehow, this isn't a syndrome. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I completely know what you mean. And I think it's interesting because I think you will sometimes see, like women when they're, giving speeches that they have, it's sort of like the celebrating of this victimhood that they have had to go, that needs to be like a barnacle attached to them to be inspirational and to be relatable, that they do have to be less than at some point to have been acceptable to have reached the height that they have reached. Versus I feel sometimes when you hear men give similar speeches, it's not so much, sometimes it'll be about the hardships, but it's oftentimes about how they, as a visionary, have seen something and they're working towards something, and they're going out and they're being celebrated for their achievements rather than their victimhood. Yeah. And it's just, even though ultimately I'm sure the successful woman would like to be more celebrated for what she has achieved, you're right, it does oftentimes, it feels, have to come with this caveat of, finding something beyond just the actual life journey of it to really be okay with it all.
Yeah, it's so true. And I hadn't considered what you said about, it's enough to hear about a man's creative vision and that he achieved it. And already I'm on board, because I love hearing people do stuff like that. And when I was thinking about this, I was sort of thinking, okay, we have this sort of, I don't know why I was thinking of churches, but this kind of very I think of it as very American, evangelical, I sinned, I fell, and then I rose. And I think that's an acceptable narrative for men. But then you always end on the rise. But with women, it seems to happen in reverse. When a woman gets to a certain status of success, then she needs to drag up the fall. Men get to fall and then finish on the high. This is toxic as hell.
I know.